how to behave at wakes, burials, and funerals, how to deal with an extremely delicate situation, what to do and what not to do in this kind of situation. In today's video, we're going to talk a little more about etiquette at funerals. Hi, how are you? Welcome to the Etiquette and Protocol channel. I'm Juliana Santiago, etiquette specialist and consultant, co-founder of the Institute of Etiquette and Protocol, and today we're going to talk a little more about etiquette at wakes and funerals. When you attend this type of event, go there to pay tribute to someone who has passed away, and how you should behave in this kind of situation. This was actually a video topic suggested by you. At first, I thought it was an extremely delicate topic, but on my social media as well, if you don't follow me yet, especially on Instagram, it's Etiquette Protocolo. Just like here on YouTube, I always get questions about how to behave in this kind of situation. So I decided to record a video here with some points that I think can be essential for us to behave well and not act in the wrong way, not go overboard or make certain mistakes, because this really is a difficult situation for the people we're sharing this moment with. Many times we don't know what to do, we don't know what to say, and we're going to talk about all of this in this video. Also, if you have any other video suggestions, comment below. Let me know what kind of video you would like to see and watch here on the Etiquette and Protocol channel, because I'm always keeping an eye on your comments and questions to always bring content that interests those who follow the channel. That said, let's get into the video. I divided this video into a few stages, so we're going to talk a little about what to do before the wake, the burial, the funeral, and we'll also talk a bit about your arrival in this kind of situation. And we're also going to talk a little about how you can offer your condolences, what you should do, how you should talk to the person who has often lost a loved one, the person who is closest to the one who has lost someone. Sometimes it may happen that you're not very close to the person who passed away, or you haven't seen that person for many years, and then you want to pay your last respects. Sometimes it was a friend who lost their mother or lost their father. So you also want to be there for someone else, and you wonder how you should express your feelings, what to do and what not to do. So let's start with the part before the wake, how you should prepare yourself. First of all, when we have a wake or a funeral, we need information, right? But sometimes you find out that a friend lost her father, for example, and you need the information about the wake, the funeral, what time it is, when the burial will be. You need this kind of information so you can go pay your respects and support your friend. I don't recommend that you call your friend directly. If you don't have anyone else close to her that you can contact, then there's no other way. You'll have to get in touch with your friend. But if you know a sister, a cousin, or maybe you know her daughter, try to get in touch with other people who weren't directly affected by the person who passed away. The second thing you need to consider before going is your clothing. How should you present yourself at a wake? I know it might seem strange to talk about appropriate clothing at such a delicate moment. But if you're going to pay tribute to someone, it's important to take some care. For example, too much perfume. I don't recommend it because often you'll be hugging people there. You'll be paying a more affectionate tribute with a hug with some affection. You might often be at a wake that's more enclosed, so your perfume and the excess of your perfume can be bothersome, just like a bad smell can be. So I recommend that you take a shower depending on your job, your routine, what you are doing when you got that news, so you can go in a more appropriate way to spend some time in an environment that might be enclosed. Many times they're glass capsules, or sometimes it's just a small house, especially if you don't know what that wake will be like, what the structure of that cemetery is, where that tribute will take place. Prepare yourself and think about these details. One thing I also don't recommend is showing up, for example, in gym clothes. If you were at the gym when you got the news, go home, take a shower, change your clothes, even to get rid of any bad smell, and then head to the place where that last tribute will take place, the wake. I also don't recommend overdoing it, for example, with makeup or your choice of clothing. So avoid very flashy clothes. Don't show up looking like you're going to a party, You can wear makeup, but choose something light, something discreet. Choose subtle colors as well. Many people like and associate black with mourning, but this can vary a lot from religion to religion. There are some people who like to wear white. I recommend you wear neutral colors. Here in our country, some people follow the tradition of wearing black, but many people don't really worry about that. What I don't recommend is looking like you're going to a party, extremely overdressed with heavy makeup and lots of accessories. Be careful with that, okay? Dressing and presenting yourself in a discreet way also shows respect for those people. If it looks like you're going to a club, it seems like you're not really part of that context, of that moment, okay? I know that many people sometimes go to funerals straight from work or during their shift, and it's okay for you to show up in your company uniform or in clothes you wear to work. But I think you get the idea of what the context is here. I've seen people at funerals who were extremely overdressed, It looked like they were going to a ball, like they were going to a party or going to the mall. Let's be a little careful with that. Because it's not delicate and it's not appropriate. At an extremely difficult time for those who are there, especially for those experiencing that grief so closely, with the loss of someone who is very dear. Now, we're going to talk a little about the arrival, about your first introduction in that situation. First, we have to think about punctuality. So especially after COVID, after the pandemic, we had some adjustments in cemeteries. Of course, this can vary from city to city, whether in the countryside or capital. This may also be the case in your country, wherever you happen to be watching this video from. But it's important for you to pay attention to the duration of the wake. That will happen. Many wakes, they last 2 or 3 hours, right? In the past, wakes were longer, they lasted more. Sometimes they would even last all night there. So pay attention to the duration and also the time when the burial will take place. If attending the burial is too difficult for you, maybe you lost someone recently and it could trigger tough emotions. Plan to go to the wake right at the beginning when it's less crowded. That might be easier and less painful for you, okay? So pay attention to that. When you arrive at the wake, at the funeral, it's important that you first try to greet the person who was closest to the one who passed away. So sometimes it's a son, a husband, a wife, a mother. Ideally, you should greet this person. If you notice that this person is not available, that they are in an extremely delicate moment, respect that. So wait for the right moment to give your hug, to pay your respects. When we go to a wake or a funeral, we end up meeting other people. It's natural because you end up meeting other people from that circle who have a different relationship with the person who is there and who has passed away. You should greet the other people in a discreet manner. So avoid speaking too loudly when you greet someone. If it's someone you haven't seen in a long time and you're actually happy to see them there, even though it's an extremely difficult situation, you've met someone you haven't seen in a long time, be careful with the way you greet them, okay? Don't be like, "Hi, I'm so happy to see you here." Now's not the time for that. So hold yourself back a little, control yourself, and respect the situation when you arrive. Don't ask too many questions to the people who are nearby. Of the person who passed away, right? Of the coffin. What is her degree of kinship, or what is her relationship with that person? If you don't know whether the person who passed away has children, or sometimes you don't know who their children are, don't go around asking like, are you Maria's child? Are you Joel's brother? No. If you want to know that kind of information, ask someone else. You'd better check first before paying tribute. That's not interesting, okay? It's not a good idea to ask there. Sometimes there's someone showing too much emotion and then you say, oh, is that Joel's daughter?
No.
Find out beforehand so you can go there and greet her. And then you can introduce yourself. If you don't know João's daughter, you can say that João was a very important person to you, that he was a friend you met in college, and that you're very sad about what happened to him and that you liked him a lot. So that's a more appropriate approach. If you also don't know what the person died of, whether it was an illness or an accident, you don't have much information, right? You may know it was an accident, but there's uncertainty. What kind of accident was it? Was it a car accident? Was it a motorcycle accident? The person was run over. They fell from a plane. If you don't have information, ask other people. Don't keep asking those who are very close to the person who passed away about the reason for their passing. And when I say, guys, someone very close, who do I mean? It's a child, a spouse. It's the mother who saw her child pass away. So that's the level of relationship I'm talking about. It's those first degrees of kinship. When it's someone like a nephew, sometimes a daughter-in-law, a son-in-law, then it's easier for you to ask, if you feel comfortable with that person, to ask that kind of question to understand a little more. So be very careful, okay? Avoid asking the sibling, the child, or the mother. Like to those people who were very close to the person who passed away, what was the real reason? The wife there, the husband? It's heartbreaking for someone to relive painful feelings while already suffering immensely. And for her to have to put that into words for you, it's not good. It's extremely delicate. So if you don't have information, I know everyone is very curious, but hold yourself back, Try to find out in other ways, I think it will be better. During the ceremony, we also need to talk about some points of behavior that are more appropriate. First, you need to maintain a respectful posture. So avoid making jokes, avoid speaking too loudly. Remember the environment you're in, regardless of your age, okay? Sometimes you're someone watching this video, you're around 15 or 16 years old, and you've already been in or are already part of this kind of situation. With a school friend's father who has passed away, you have to maintain your composure. So if you're also an older person, but you tend to speak very loudly or joke around a lot when you talk, remember where you are. It's not a place for you to be that source of joy or fun, regardless of your age, okay? People don't like that, and they'll get extremely upset with you because they see it as disrespectful. Be careful with your cell phone use, so put your phone on silent. If you need to send a voice message on WhatsApp, talk, send a message, or sometimes you need to handle some work issue at that moment or make a call, try to step away a bit from where the wake or funeral is taking place. Go to a more secluded area and make your calls or contacts there, okay? Don't keep using your phone too much near where the person is and where everyone is paying their last respects. Pay close attention to this point and, of course, avoid taking photos. I know it might seem a bit redundant for me to talk about taking photos, but I've actually seen some situations on the internet where people took photos of an extremely delicate and extremely difficult situation. Don't do that, not even as a joke. Wow, even less so if you ever thought about doing it or even already did it, just don't do it anymore. During the event as well, it's important for you to pay attention to the topics of conversation you have with other people there. So, besides avoiding very controversial topics, it's a good idea not to get too involved in personal matters that the family there might be experiencing. So, for example, being curious, about things like how will the inheritance be divided? Oh, have you already started the probate process? Wow, this probate thing is really tough. It takes a long time to be finalized. Be careful, don't bring up that kind of topic. What are you going to do with the house your father used to live in? Who will the children live with from then on? Be cautious with curious questions, as they may appear simple or helpful but can be inappropriate. Sometimes you might know a good lawyer to help with the probate process, but that's not the right time to make that kind of suggestion, right? So be careful with the kinds of topics you bring up. Sometimes the person had more than one child, and then you ask, wow, I wonder how the inheritance will be divided. No, be careful. It's extremely rude to bring up that kind of topic. And it's extremely difficult to deal with awake. A situation like that, it demands a lot from our behavior. That's why we need to understand what the best behavior practices are. Because if you know this, what to do and what not to do, even in your daily life, when you're in an extremely delicate situation, like a funeral, even without watching this video, you'll already be able to adapt well and handle it very well. And why am I saying this? Because I have a training course on etiquette and good manners, where you will actually change your behavior and understand how to be your best version in any kind of situation. Whether it's a delicate situation like the one in this video, or a social or work situation, or any other. Thousands of people have already taken this training, and if you haven't participated yet, I'm going to give you a special coupon. Just use the code YOUTUBE to make your first purchase, and you'll get a very special discount to join this training. I'm sure you're going to really enjoy it, and you'll improve not only in the art of etiquette and good manners, but also enhance your behavior, your personal image, and also understand everything about table etiquette. The link is right below. It's the first link in the description of this video. Now we're going to talk a little about expressing feelings. It's very difficult for us to say something to someone in such a delicate moment. Sometimes it was your friend, your coworker who lost someone very close. Sometimes it's someone who is very special to you, like a cousin who lost her mother. And you don't know what to say in such a difficult moment for that person. Many times, in extremely difficult moments, when you see that the person is very fragile and very impacted by everything that happened, just your presence will already mean a lot to her. So give her a hug, comfort her, tell her that whatever she needs, you are there to help her, right? You can say something like, my condolences, whatever you need, I'm here. If you had some connection with the person who passed away, you can say, wow, your father was a very special person, such a strong person. But you don't need to say much, because sometimes anything you say in that moment, depending on the situation, the person might interpret it differently. So many times, if you don't know what to say, just don't say anything and show your presence. Avoid saying potentially insensitive things about someone's passing, such as suggesting it's good they are finally at rest. Sometimes the person had been fighting an illness for many years. Then you say, it's good that they're at rest now. It was better this way for them. Be careful with that. Now, if the person who is directly connected to the one who passed away mentions something like that, then it's okay for you to say it and show support with words that she believes in.
For example,
if I come and say, I'm glad my father is at rest, he was suffering too much. To a friend who came to give me emotional support, then this friend might say, wow, Ju, it really is. Sometimes it was better for him this way, but whatever you need, I'm here. Anyway, if the person who was closest to the one who passed away brings up this kind of topic, she's using those words to comfort herself, So you can show support and use those words. But if she doesn't say anything, don't be the one to introduce that kind of comfort either. Because sometimes, for someone who lost someone very close, it's not helpful, Sometimes people come and say things like, oh, look, stay calm because this pain will pass. Sometimes it won't pass, right? Sometimes it doesn't go away. Sometimes it goes away, sometimes it doesn't, because each person also experiences grief in their own way. So if someone comes to you, right, someone who also lost their loved one, and they come to you in a situation like this and say, wow, Ju, it will pass, won't it? Then I also reinforce her words again. So if the person who lost their closest loved one brings up that kind of thing, it's good for you to give them support because they're using that to ease the pain in their heart. And when you reinforce it, you're helping them. But don't be the one to bring up that topic, you know? And funerals and wakes are also moments when we not only pay tribute to people, it's a difficult time, it's a delicate moment, but it's also natural for us to see many people we haven't seen in a long time. And people get curious about that person's life, what they're doing, what they're up to, and about other people who are there too, who also came to pay their respects to the person who passed away. But there are questions we should never ask, whether it's at a wake, at a funeral, or even at a party in a much happier social situation than the one I described here in this video. And I'm going to leave this video here on the side where I talk about questions you should never ask someone. Don't forget to watch it. It's right here. Watch it next. I'll stop here for now. See you later.